We're going to conclude our week discussing music as an aspect of worship or a component of worship by looking at some guidelines that will help us in our music, especially our corporate music, as we come together to sing to the glory of God. There's 5 guidelines I would put before you. Number 1, our music is important. It's doctrinally correct. So the content of our music is very, very important. Now, we've already looked at that the last 2 days, actually, so we're not going to rehearse that. But if your music is not doctrinally sound, biblically accurate, then you shouldn't be singing it. I don't care how good it is or how beautiful it is. It's not helpful, especially in a corporate setting. Now, a second guideline would be the singers themselves. Who is singing? Who's leading singing? Most churches have a song leader or a song group. Maybe it's a worship team, they might call it, or a chorus, whatever it might be. Who should be leading in our music? Who should be deciding our music? Well, 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20 talks about the individual itself, the singer, the musician. It says, "And now in a large house there are not only gold and silver vessels, but also vessels of wood and clay, and some to honor, some to dishonor. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from these things, he'll be a vessel for honor, sanctified, useful to the master, having been prepared for every good work." So I think this, although it doesn't talk about music directly, it's talking about the vessels that God uses for his glory. If a person is a vessel that is dirty, is corrupted, and in this case sinful, then that individual who is living in known sin shouldn't be leading the congregation in music. It's important that whoever is leading us, whoever we're listening to, it's important that their lives are in line with God. We're not talking perfection, of course, but we're talking about people who are truly, honestly living for the Lord and trying and demonstrating that life in what we can see. A few years ago, for example, the singer, if that's what he is, Snoop Doggy Dogg, came out with a gospel album. The gospel album was called The Bible of Love. Now, I didn't bother to go out and buy that or listen to the music, partly because I know the character of Snoop Doggy Dogg. And he is not somebody that I want to be leading me in Christian music, even if some of his songs were biblically accurate. I'm not sure what his motive was for all that. I don't know. But I know he's not an individual that should be representing Jesus Christ in music because of his life. Here's a third guideline. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31, we have this all-encompassing guideline of glorifying God with our lives. In 1 Corinthians 10:31, it says this, "Whatever you do, or whatever you eat or drink, whatever you do all to the glory of God." So every aspect of our lives and our ministries and our music should be done for the glory of God. This is important when we get up front, if we're up front, if we're one of those musicians, that our music is to honor him, not to honor me, showcase my skills, but to honor Christ. When we sing in a church service, it's to be for the glory of God, not for the glorification of the singers or the music or the congregation. The glory is for God. That's an all-encompassing guideline that we ought to always be paying attention to. And then we turn to 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 11, and it talks about serving the Lord with the gifts that he's given us. And it says in 4:11, "Whoever speaks as one who's speaking the oracles of God, whoever serves as one who serves by the strength which God supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and the might forever and ever. Amen." He's saying here basically, if you're going to use your gifts for the Lord, use them for his glory. Serve with all your might. Do the best, I think, that you can for his glory. Now that means that when we sing, we do our best. If we are given the privilege of being up front to lead singing to others, do your best. That doesn't mean you're necessarily as good as somebody else. We're not in a competition here. We do the best we can. And your church, my church, may not have the best musicians in town. That's not a requirement. Our requirement is we do the best we can to the glory of God. And And then one more guideline I would throw your way. That is in Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. We should be serving the Lord even in our music with love and tolerance. He says in verse 3, do nothing from selfish ambition or vainglory, but with humility of mind regarding one another as more important than yourselves. Not merely looking out for your own personal interests, but also for the interest of others. This verse really plays in to music today. We come together to sing, to worship God, to edify one another, to build up one another, to teach one another, to glorify God, not for personal selfish ambition, but to minister to others. It's not all about us. It's about Him and how we can reach out and minister to others. We should be concerned not merely for our own personal interests, but for the interest of other people. Great guidelines that I trust will help us to have a wonderful day in the Lord, but a wonderful time of worshiping God in music even this next week. I trust that this will be helpful to you in that regard.